Right. Today we are talking about phones. Or as I like to call them, the tiny glowing bricks that have quietly turned half the population into socially disorientated livestock. You know exactly what I mean. You unlock your phone, you check something, and you lock it back. And 30 seconds later, you unlock it again like a Victorian widow waiting for a telegram. Nothing happened. Nobody texted you. No global emergency unfolded. Your life did not suddenly become more interesting in the last half minute, mate. And yet there you are again. Staring at the screen like a meaning of existence might have arrived in a notification from, Deliveroo? It's fascinating. Really, really fascinating. Because somewhere along the way, the phone stopped being a tool. It stopped being that useful thing you carried around, to call people, to check directions, or to confirm that yes, the weather is still disappointing. At least here. Now it's an extension of your nervous system, You don't use it. You twitch toward it. You reach for it automatically, like a rat pressing the same lever in the lab because maybe this time the little pellet of dopamine will finally descend from heaven. And you know the most pathetic part? You know you're doing it. I know you're doing it. We all know you're doing it. And yet we keep acting like this is normal human behavior and not some beautifully packaged psychological dependency with a titanium case. Come on, look at the people in public for 5 minutes, You just need 5 minutes. Nobody walks anymore. They drift. Eyes down, neck bent, soul elsewhere. They move through train stations, streets, coffees, and, pedestrians crossing like badly programmed NPCs in a game that forgot to finish rendering. And then you try to get past them and suddenly you are in a little silence dance with someone who is physically in front of you but spiritually inside of a video of a man cleaning a rug. And if this sounds harsh, mate, good. Because today we are talking about the phone zombie society, The quiet little apocalypse where everyone is connected to everything. And somehow present for absolutely nothing.
Unfiltered outsider. Unfiltered outsider.
All right. Welcome back. Hello. I'm Noah. Uninfluenced, unpaid, and apparently increasingly irritated by the human race. Now, if you are a regular listener, you already know the deal. This is not a therapy session, mate. And this is not a motivational podcast. And this is definitely not one of those shows where someone tells you how to become a millionaire before breakfast, while drinking celery juice and journaling about gratitude. No. Here we do something much more productive. We look at the strange little habits of modern life, the things everyone does, the things everyone knows are ridiculous, and we just stare at them for long enough until the whole thing becomes impossible to ignore. Because the truth, mate, is that modern society is full of these tiny absurd behaviors that somehow became normal. Everyone does them. Nobody questions them. And if you stop for 5 seconds and look at them from the outside, the whole thing starts looking like a social experiment that got wildly out of control. And today's subject might be the most obvious one of all. The phone. Not technology, alright? Not internet. Not the phone itself. That little glowing rectangle that somehow became the most important object in the entire human experience. But I know. It wakes you up. It tells you where to go. It tells you what is happening. It tells you what everyone else is doing. It tells you what you should care about. And if you're honest with yourself, It probably also tells you when you are allowed to feel bored. Because God forbid we experience 10 seconds of silence without immediately opening an app. And the strange thing is that, well, this didn't happen slowly, This happened incredible fast. 10 years ago, people still had conversations on trains. But now the entire train carriage looked like silent monasteries for people worshipping Wi-Fi. Heads down, thumbs moving, eyes locked. Like the entire planet collectively decided that reality is just the loading screen before the next notification. So, we are talking about that. The phone zombie society. And if you feel slightly attacked while listening to this episode, well, good. Because chances are that you are probably listening to this while holding the exact object we are about to mock for the next 10 minutes. And honestly, well, that's the perfect place to start. Let's start with the street, right? Because the street is where the phone zombie phenomenon becomes impossible to ignore. You know the situation. You're walking normally like a functioning human being, eyes up, aware of your surroundings. Participating in reality like a responsible member of society. And then you see them. Oh yeah, the phone walkers. Head down, neck bent in a 45-degree angle, trembling, scrolling like their lives depends on reaching the bottom of whatever useless content they started reading 3 minutes ago. And suddenly you realize something very strange. You are now responsible for both of you. Oh yeah. Because they are no longer navigating the world. They are drifting to it, So you move left. And they drift left. So you move right. And they drift right. And now you are in this silent little choreography with someone who has absolutely no idea you exist. You are trying to avoid a collision, I know. And they are watching a video of a raccoon stealing someone's sandwich. And somehow you are the one doing all the work, which I find fascinating. Because evolution spent hundreds of thousands of years teaching humans something very important, situational awareness. Our ancestors needed to survive predators, to detect danger, to react quickly. But modern humans use that same survival instinct to avoid walking into a Greg who is watching TikTok while crossing Oxford streets. And these people don't just walk badly, They walk with the confidence of someone who believes the universe will simply move out of their way. Lampposts? Optional. Traffic? Negotiable. Other humans? Their problems. And the worst category of all is the road crosser, I know you've seen this. Someone approaching a pedestrian crossing, but they never look up. They just keep walking. Phone in hand, eyes glued to the screen. Absolute fate that the laws of physics will politely pause while they finish reading whatever message Becky just sent. And as a drive, you are sitting there, waiting and thinking, are we really doing this? Because now you are braking for someone who is tapping lol while entering traffic. And what could be possible be happening on the screen that pattern that justified this level of blind trust in the universe? Maybe breaking news or a life-changing message? Maybe a winning lottery ticket? No. It's usually a video of someone organizing their fridge. Which, by the way, is a category of content that somehow became extremely popular. I have never once thought to myself, what would improve my evening? Maybe watching a stranger rearrange their condiments. And yet millions of people are out there watching this like it's the final episode of a Netflix series. But the streets is just a warm-up, because the real masterpiece of phone culture happens when people are together. Oh yeah. And that's where things start getting, truly ridiculous, mate. It's in restaurants, cafes, dinner tables, for people sitting together, 4 phones on the table. And somewhere along the way, the phone quietly won the battle for attention. You will see this happen in real time, Everyone arrives, coats off, menus open, small talk begins. Well, for about 30 seconds, everything looks like a normal human interaction. But then someone checks their phone. Just quickly, just one message, just a little glance. And the moment that screen lights up, the atmosphere in the room changes. Because the second one person disappears into their phone, the others slowly follow. It spreads across the table like a social virus, One phone becomes 2, 2 becomes 4. And suddenly the conversation has died in front of everyone like a goldfish floating in a bowl. Now it's just silence. 4 adults, 4 glowing rectangles. And the occasional moment where someone looks up and says, well, hey, look at this. Which is usually followed by everyone watching a 10-second video of a cat falling off a chair. But apparently that now counts as shared human experience. Imagine explaining this behavior to someone, from 50 years ago. So you're telling me that you gather 4 people in the same room, and instead of speaking to each other, you collectively watch a raccoon steal a sandwich from a picnic table? And the answer would be, yes, and it was hilarious. But the truly impressive part is when people use phones during conversations. That one friend who suddenly checks their phone while you're talking. You know the move. You mid-sentence, you are explaining something, and then you notice it. The sly glance down. The screen lights up. And in that moment you realize you're just being downgraded to background noise, of course. Now you are competing with whatever notification just arrived from an app called something like Daily Motivation Codes for Warriors. And this happens everywhere, on trains, in waiting rooms, at bus stops. 10 people sitting together in silence like monks who took a vow of scrolling. Nobody making eye contact. Nobody acknowledging the existence of other humans. Just thumbs moving like tiny little windshields, wipers clearing the fog from boredom, And the moment something stops happening on the phone, people panic. Because boredom has become a forbidden experience, right, mate? 10 seconds of silence and suddenly the phone appears again like an emergency oxygen mask. Scroll, refresh, scroll, refresh. As if the next swipe might finally reveal the thing that will justify the last 30 minutes of staring at the same glowing rectangle. But here's the funny part. Most of the time nothing new appears, Same apps, same posts, same nonsense. You are literally refreshing the same screen hoping reality has updated since the last time you looked at it 20 seconds ago. It's like repeatedly opening the fridge hoping that somehow a pizza has spontaneously appeared. It hasn't. But it's hope. And hope it's a powerful thing, right? And the phone knows that. That's the whole design. Little rewards, little notification, tiny burst of attention. Just enough to keep you reaching back into your pocket like a gambler pulling the lever on a slot machine. Except the casino is in your hand. And the jackpot is, a video of someone power washing a driveway? Which I will admit is oddly satisfying. I love it. But still, we build the most advanced communication device in human history, and half the time is being used to watch someone clean a patio in Ohio. Which honestly might be the most honest summary of modern civilization I can think of. So, here we are, the phone zombie society. A world where the most powerful communication device ever created is, well, mostly used to avoid communication. And look, I'm not pretending I'm above this. I have a phone. You have a phone. Everyone listening to this probably has their phones within arm's reach right now, right? Some of you are literally holding while listening to this episode. I'm sure of that, which makes this entire conversation beautifully ironic, I know. But you know, the phone itself is not the villain. Because it's an incredible piece of technology, you know? You carry maps and music, information, communication, the entire internet in your pocket. That would have sounded like science fiction 20 years ago. The problem is not the tool, you know. The problem is what happens when the tool quietly becomes the center of your attention. When the moment you are living in starts competing with the moment on the screen. When silence feels uncomfortable. When waiting in the queue for 30 seconds feels like a crisis that must immediately be solved with scrolling. And suddenly the real world becomes the thing that happens between that notifications. Which is slightly tragic when you think about it, right? Because you know, reality, despite its flaws, right? It's actually quite interesting. People, conversations, the strange little absurd moments that happen when humans interact with other humans without a screen between them, you know? But those moments require attention, I know. And attention is exactly what the phone is designed to steal from you. So maybe the next time you catch yourself unlocking your phone for the 30th time in 30 seconds, just pause for a moment. Look around. See where you actually are. Because changes are the world around you might be slightly more interesting than whatever video the algorithm has about to recommend that you made. And if not, well, at least try not to walk into traffic while watching someone organizing their fridge. Because that would be a very stupid way to end your day. Uninfluenced, Unpaid, Unfiltered. I'm Jackman, and this is the Unfiltered Outsider.
Unfiltered outsider. Unfiltered outsider.